It's been a very busy week for me. Apparently, this is my 5th meeting today. Yesterday, I spoke for 12 hours back to back doing a training for an organization. By the time I woke up to put my thoughts together, my son said, "Daddy, are you going out again?" I said, "Yes. I have a meeting to attend to. It's a duty for me to impact people, to move you to a point where you believe that all that you need had already been put into you from the foundation of the earth." So I'm here to talk about balancing our emotions such that we can give expression to the splendor by which God had made us from the beginning. And I'm going to start with a story. There was a story I heard many years ago about a beautiful woman who married a very tall and handsome dude. And one day the man was pretty hungry and he went to the kitchen. When you see the man in the kitchen, you know he's very hungry. He went to the kitchen and asked his wife, and said, "Okay, so when will food be ready?" Just about that time, the wife just cut the tail of the fish and trashed the tail of the fish. The man was a bit curious and was wondering, why do you have to cut the tail of the fish before you fry the fish? The lady said to her husband, I said, "Well, I never found out, but that was how my mom used to cut the tail of the fish." One of these very beautiful days, they decided to go and greet the mother-in-law and just play with her. It was a public holiday. So they got there and the man still had the question stored in his long-term memory. So he went there and said, "Well, I noticed that my wife cut the tail of the fish. We want to ask you," she said, "you were the one that used to do it. Why do you cut the tail of the fish?" And the woman said, "Your dad doesn't like eating fish in bits. And at that time, he couldn't afford to buy a big frying pan. So I usually cut the tail of the fish, trash the tail, and fry the rest." Wow. What a light bulb moment it was for the guy. That's the way a lot of us live. We're all programmed. If you look around the environment where you live, you realize that there were certain things that you pick from your environment that you have never questioned. Can I shock you? When you brush your teeth, it's usually plus or minus 2 to 3, 5 strokes every day because you are running a program. There's some of you here, the way your mom or your guardian taught you how to cook jollof rice is the way you are still cooking it. The way you saw how eating was. Who said that meat should be the last thing we should eat? Have you ever thought about it? You know why? Because we're running a program. Everybody has been scripted. I need you to follow me. Everybody has been scripted. Everybody here. I heard ladies say things like, "I don't take nonsense." You can take nonsense. You think you can't take nonsense because the environment where you grew up, you have been scripted not to take nonsense. Ladies and gentlemen, we're all running a program. And until we get to a point where we admit that there are certain environmental factors that have shaped our beliefs, and those beliefs have shaped our values, and those values have shaped the way we act, think, and feel, we will not get to the root of the matter. Let me take you a little further. People that did MMM a few years ago, they must have believed in Ponzi scheme before they put their money there. In other words, if you don't believe something, you won't try it. So your belief system is what guides everything that you do. So if you respect people, or you respect your husband, or you respect men generally, it's because there was something in the environment where you grew up that helped you to be respectful. I do a lot of one-on-one coaching and relationship coaching, and sometimes ladies come to me, I'm like, "Okay, I'm not married, I have a good job, it looks as if they're following me from my village and all of that, all those mystical things." And sometimes they're not following anybody from anywhere. The habit that was imbibed and copied from the environment where you grew up has a lot to do with what you are doing now. So I see a lot of issues with ladies that have attitude, and I'm not trying to hit on ladies, I'm just trying to be very factual. The reality is that you must have seen an authority figure that used to do what you are doing and you copied it subconsciously. Ladies and gentlemen, if we're going to be women of splendor, we're going to be brilliant women, we have to unlearn some of the things that we learned from our past. Hello, somebody. Until we come to terms with that, we will not be able to maximize the total essence by which God brought us to this earth. So I have an equation. I wish I had a board here. So I call it E plus R equals to O. The E there, it stands for event. You can't control events. Okada man will hit your bumper. Traffic will be there. Your driver will come late. Your husband will not send you money. The event of life is not in your control. The O at the end of the equation is outcome. For everything that happens in life, there will be an outcome. The R there talks about your response. Is how you respond to the event of life that will determine the outcome that will come out of it. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, nobody got you angry. You chose anger as a response to something that is against your value system. Can I say that again? So I hear people say things like, my driver, why are you upset? My driver got me upset. It was the landlord that didn't pump water that got me upset. Ladies and gentlemen, there are other options to reacting to a situation if you have a better emotional intelligence. So this is what I like to do. Let me just jump down. So if I come, okay, I'm recording. Don't worry. I need someone to quickly do an illustration. Quickly, anybody that is sure? Quick. Okay. So let me indulge. It's a woman's meeting. Thank you, sir. So this is what you do when you say someone got you angry. You literally handed over your joy or the remote control of your mood to somebody else. So listen to me. I want you to follow me. So if you say that someone asks you and says, "Oh, I'm very upset," and you are, pacing up and down in the house, you have a bad mood. You know what you have done? You have given the remote control of your emotion to somebody else. Now, the beginning of emotional balance is emotional. You have to take responsibility for your emotion. So let me say to your neighbor, nobody got you angry.
Nobody got you angry.
You chose anger as an option to the situation.
You chose anger as an option to the situation.
Can I say a second thing that will shock you? If you need to hear sorry to feel good, you are weak emotionally. So, this is one of my staff. She knows that I don't like people coming late, so she came late. And because my core value is promptness, if I go around the office looking gloomy, looking as if it's the end of the world, you know what I have done? I have given the ownership of my emotions to my colleague at work. So in other words, I'm expecting her to say sorry to me before I come back to normal state. As long as she doesn't say sorry, what does she have? She has ownership of my emotions. Ladies in the house, let's get this clear. You cannot wait. You don't need to wait. As much as I like respect, up till now, I don't work with vendors that are older than me because I grew up in an environment where we were taught to be respectful. So I'm not trying to encourage disrespect among women, but I'm saying that if you have to wait for someone to say I'm sorry before you can come out of a negative emotion, it's a sign that you are weak emotionally. So this morning, we need to sit down and ask ourselves, thank you. Let's put your hands together for her. We need to sit and ask ourselves, then how do I begin to get a grasp over my emotion? And one of the things that you have to do is, number one, you have to be more self-aware. How aware are you about your emotions? How aware are you about what gets you? Everyone has a trigger. Everyone has, you see, in life we have what is called values. Values are the things, beliefs that have become convictions that you believe they are true about you. So, some people have promptness as one of their values. Give me an example of values. Some other people like neatness. Give me an example of values. Somebody. Integrity. All right. We get angry when our values are violated. We get happy when our values are validated. Hello, somebody. So, in as much as there will be events and there will be a response to the event, the equation of your outcome will change when you begin to take ownership and take responsibility of your emotions. It's the weakness of our society that makes us feel that anger is the way we can respond to our household when they misbehave. It's the weakness and the smallness and the mediocrity in the environment that makes us begin to say things like, I should have done that if you didn't do that. No. When people come to me and like, okay, I was good to this person, but she betrayed me and all of that, and from now I will not help anybody again. This is what I say to people. That's who that person is. That's not who you are. Don't allow the circumstances of life change who you are. Can I tell you the truth? Help people, do your best, but if you live long enough, you will be betrayed. The only offense that can be committed by someone who once belonged is betrayal. You can't betray someone that does not belong, that does not belong to the party that you belong to. That was not a part of your inner circle. In other words, don't allow circumstances of life, what people do to you, to shut your well of compassion. Because there will be other people who will not abuse that privilege and will be willing to become queens and become kings in the nearest future. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to be aware to know exactly what you need to go back to the environment where you grew up and ask yourself, what were the common values in that environment? Listen, there are things you are doing now that was not programmed intentionally because nobody sits down to build values. Some of you, your values might be picked from London as you are watching TV. Some of you, your values are picked from your parents. So when I hear things like, you violated my values, excuse me, you don't have values. You picked values from the environment where you grew up. How many of you do things the way your mom does it? Anybody? As I was training yesterday, thank you. Thank you for that. I was training yesterday and the guy said, the way my mom handles conflict is the way I handle conflict. I said, it's normal. Because if you don't take that journey back and begin to ask, what are the things I need to unlearn from the environment where I grew up, you will do stuff that will shock you and you'll be easing without control. Have you met people who just ease at intervals? That's when we psychologists call it amygdala hijack. At that point, you have done something below what you think you should do, then your conscience begins to prick you. Ladies in the house, can I help you? You need to take a journey back to how you grew up and begin to look at the values you picked and ask yourself, will this value validate the dreams I want to come to pass in my life, or will it sabotage the dreams I want to achieve in my life? So the first thing, if we're going to be emotionally balanced, is to be aware of what triggers our anger, aware of what triggers our feeling. Because before you do anything, there's always a thought that precedes action. Have you ever said this to anybody before? I told you to bring a spoon, you bought the bag. Were you thinking? Because thoughts shape action. And the thoughts that you sustain will determine the actions that you will express. So, if you maybe your core value is being prompt, and every time someone comes late for an event or comes late to work, you always get angry, you have given ownership of your emotion to that person. Should we encourage them to come late? No. They might not change who they are, but don't let them change who you are. You have to sit down, ask yourself, what are my triggers? We don't all get angry about the same thing. Why? Because we don't all have the same core values. So if you're going to live a life of splendor, ladies and gentlemen, you have to be aware. Know what triggers your anger. Know what your core values are. Number 2 is self-management. You have to be able to manage yourself. So the first one is know yourself. The second one is you can choose yourself. You can choose how you respond to life. You can choose. I like to make this illustration a lot, so I want you to look at me quickly. What does this mean? What does this mean?
Yeah.
What does this mean?
Yeah.
God bless you. Right?
Yeah.
So you go to the UK and you're very fanciful. Okay, you go to Zanzibar, very fanciful vacation, and you see a white woman there, and she does this thing. What will it mean to her? What made us think that this is the environment where we grew up has programmed us that this is an abuse. So in life, listen to me. Life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it. Can I say that again? Life is 10% of what happens to you, 90% of how you respond to it. So God created us human in a way that we ought to learn how to manage our responses. Now, there are 2 ways by which you can grow. You can either grow manually or grow automatically. Now, grow by default. By next year, it will be 1 year. You are 30 this year. By next year, you'll be 31. But listen, maturity starts when you begin to manage your emotions. Maturity starts when you don't respond by default. You respond by nature, by instruction. Now, there are 2 ways you can respond to issues. You can either respond or you can react. React is by default. Responding is when you have an understanding of how your emotions can play out then you can do what you are meant to do. And I like to ask this question when I go for trainings and I speak. So who are you? Anybody wants to answer? Who are you? I am who I am. Because of time, I will take it a little further. You are who you have become. What people are saying about you are a feedback of the reality that you have. So when people say that you are saucy, you walk in strife, you walk in unforgiveness, then it's not because they have animosity against you. Because when 4, 5 people are saying the same thing, it's a feedback that that's your reality. But listen, if you will change who you will be, if you will be all that God intends you to be, ladies and gentlemen, you have to intentionally build values that will support your outcomes. Hello, somebody.
Hello,
are you here with me?
Yeah, we are here.
So the second thing that you need to do to be emotionally balanced, so that you can radiate a life of splendor, is to be able to manage your emotion. The third one is what I call social awareness. Sometimes non-verbal cues are much more important than verbal words. You need to be able to read body language. You need to be able to see and be sensitive. Women are intuitive, but can I shock you? I found a lot of women these days, and it looks as if their intuition switches off. It's natural with us. We men were logical, but you have it. It's there. It's an inbuilt thing. So we need to rely more on the intuitive power that God gave us, so that we can be a lot more sensitive. The fourth one, and when you're talking about emotional intelligence, is that you must have what I call people skills. Ladies and gentlemen, I've struggled to print my comprehensive card in years. I've not been able to build it. Print one. You know why? I realized that 90% of my trainings come by referral. If you can't manage relationship, you won't be able to be the best that God wants you to be. Because the relationships are bridges from where you are to where God wants to take you to. I've spoken in different organizations. Some I've never sent proposals. It was because somebody heard me somewhere and said me somewhere else. Then someone said I should come. What am I saying? If you're the type who knows how to snap, you walk in strive effortlessly. You walk in unforgiveness without thinking about it. You have to unlearn it. Because God gave everyone the very fresh identity from birth. Whatever you are doing today, you learned it and you can unlearn it. Let me say to your neighbor, you can unlearn that habit.
You can unlearn that habit.
Look for another neighbor and say, neighbor, neighbor.
Neighbor, neighbor.
Neighbor, bobo.
Neighbor, bobo.
Neighbor, bobo, bobo.
Neighbor, bobo, bobo.
You can unlearn that habit.
You can unlearn that habit.
There was a great man that said, the illiterate of the 21st century is not he that cannot read or write. He said the illiterate of the 21st century is he that cannot unlearn, relearn, and learn. So if you will live a life of splendor, ladies in the house and the gentlemen that are around, you have to unlearn certain things that are sabotaging your outcomes. If you have to be the woman that God had ordained you to be from the foundation of the earth, you have to learn new things that will help you from where you are to where you are meant to be. And there were certain things that you had forgotten that you have to relearn. Okay, I'm told I have 5 minutes more. Let me quickly speak to the parents in the house. 21st century parenting is a lot more challenging. Because we have children that are a lot more capacitated than we are. My son uses my phone. Started using my phone from like age 3. And the first time he held my phone, it was as if the guy had been using the phone in the womb before he came. Hello, somebody. We need to be careful, ladies and gentlemen, because let me make this illustration. When I was growing up, my father would say, remember the son of who you are. You heard that when you were growing up? But guess what? When I'm about to probably go, I used to play football a lot. My father, I remember a couple of times when he couldn't pay rent, he would say to me, I was the only son, go to the gate and tell the landlord that I'm not around. Hello? Then at the time, I saw that my mom and my dad had a lot of scuffle, beating here and there. When I'm leaving the house, what do I remember?
The son of a fighter.
Son
of a fighter.
The son of a fighter and the son of a
liar.
A lot of us thought that we picked only the right values. If you're in an environment where there was domestic violence, you need to unlearn it or else you will disappoint yourself. Let me share my own story with you. So I got married, and a few months into my marriage, I realized that I was doing what my father used to do, programming. When my father was used to get upset against my mom, then you know what he does? He will dash out of the door and slam the door. You know this kind of feeling? I got married many years after I left the house. When my wife upset me, what do? I walk out of her and slam the door. What am I trying to say? I'm saying that there are certain things you have subconsciously learned from the environment where you grew up that can sabotage your destiny if you don't do something about it today. If you don't make that commitment about it. I have several other things to say, from talking about unconscious competence to conscious competence, but time will not permit me. But I will do one last exercise before I go. And I'm going to start that exercise by asking you a question. And the question is very simple. Promise me you won't tell anybody when you get home. Can I ask you the question? Have you ever attended your funeral? Have you ever attended your funeral? Let me help you take that journey. I did this about 7-8 years ago, and it had changed my life forever. I'm going to drop the mic very soon. I want you to imagine that you are dead at 90 or about 100 years, and your body is right here. The children are just around the casket. There are people there. There are several things that happen. They've killed 12 cars, whatever. The question I want to ask you is that, what do you want people to say about you when you are gone? What do you want your children to say about you? Do you want your children to say, Daddy was such an hypocrite, or Mommy was an hypocrite? Mommy can live in unforgiveness. What do you want people around you to say? What do you want your friends to say around about you? Who will be at your funeral? How much of impact would you have made? The splendor you are meant to reflect, how many people will it have attracted? Ladies and gentlemen, I did mine many years ago, and I said to myself that the things I want to see at the end, I should start doing them now. Until you take that exercise, you will surprise yourself. You will not be deliberate about actions, and you will not be deliberate about your choices. Ladies and gentlemen, I can say it anywhere. I get early to any event, anytime, anywhere, because I have told myself that when I'm long gone, some of you there here will be there, and you will say, oh, he was never late for an event. How does it apply to you? If the things you are doing now are not the things you want them to say about you on the last day, you need to make a change. I wish I had time to take you to an exercise where you make a list of your self-sabotaging habits and make a commitment to replace those habits with good ones, so that at the end of it all, God can say that you are the good and the faithful servant, and that men can give the glory to God that you have come to give impact to our world. I believe I'm going to see you again. I believe that so very, very well. I believe that in the next few years, what you will learn in this conference will catapult you. There's some of you here, I'm going to see you at Heathrow Airport. I will be coming in with my family. You will be going out with your own family. I believe that there's some people here, they will be the first lady of a governor very soon. I know I'm going to see you again. It won't be here. It will be somewhere greater. I will send a proposal, and they will say that you are the MD of that organization. I believe so much in Live to Love, and I believe that I just spoke to women that will express splendor in their life. Thank you for your time, and God bless you.
Thank you very much.